Okay, today we're joined by Isabel Correia from the Bank of Portugal. Isabel, with the crisis moving as fast as it is, how could academic research keep up with its process?
I think it's a natural process. I think more and more academics are involved with working colleagues in either ECB or other policy institutions. And so I think one of the good news of the last decades is this interaction between policymakers and researchers becomes very near each other. So I think the questions that are under the table for the policymakers are very much the same questions that are question marks for researchers. The way who is coming first is changing over the time. So the crisis maybe was more a surprise for some policymakers than it was for researchers that were already giving some early signals that things could be going not very well. During the crisis, things precipitate, and there were phases where researchers came after the policymakers. But I think that's a very joint action to be able to get lessons and to get lessons mainly through the huge amount of experimentations that you had during the crisis. So the crisis imposed to use instruments that were never used before, not even in models. So they were using in practice completely out of the net. So now the role of the researcher is trying to evaluate whether it was the right ones or not. They were used with a certain aim. This aim was the right one during the crisis, or it was too much, was too late. So these are questions that are left from the crisis, and I think researchers have room to do interesting questions for a long time. At the same time, we still are with the legacies from the crisis, and we still are in need of new ideas to understand how we can come out of this. And still,
it almost sounds as if the academic researchers are like crime scene investigators following the policy and trying to analyse it, and they're sort of behind the decisions that are being made in the corridors of power.
I would say that during the crisis, the urgency was so strong that policymakers could not wait for policy advice strongly scientifically founded by researchers. So they had to advance. And it's true that I think that this at this point we are researchers are trying to take a position on coming back, trying to understand exactly where the crisis came from, how it was transmitted differently to different countries, how the reaction that occurred with experiments that were never thought before have a positive or a negative effect. So it's true that this is a reaction to the policymaker. But at the same time, I would say that there are a lot of research being done in terms of trying to understand what will be the new normal, and more than this, how can we come from this situation to this new normal? That is how will be the next 10 years. And this, I think that's a lot of research being done that are in front of what policymakers are trying to think still. So I think there are the two ways.
Certainly a lot to consider. Isabel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.